Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation. And listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. As we're moving into 2026, it's becoming even more obvious to even more people that we are being bombarded from all directions. Our health is being bombarded. And we're not just talking about the regular dangers, we're talking about weather modification, poisons in the sky. We're talking about a very open depopulation agenda. However, as my dear friend Kathy O'Brien always says, never voice a negative without a solution. Our work is to find some of the exponential solutions, some of the things that very few people know about, but that are very, very effective. And one of those solutions that we discovered a few years ago is a molecule that is by many described as a miracle molecule. And the more I learn about it, the longer I use it myself, the more I can second that description. And I want to discuss this in depth today with our friends Chris Burres and Miss Patti Greer from C60 EVO. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Hello, John.
Great to see you.
Hey, great to see you both. Thank you for tuning in. Before we talk about anything, let's do this today. Very a cheers with this very miracle molecule that I just talked about.
Look at that big bottle, dude.
Yes, thank you for that gift.
Oh, you must really rate.
Cheers, my friends.
Cheers.
Let's get the brain juices flowing.
Top of the show to put the brain in first gear.
Exactly that. Thank you for that big bottle, by the way, Miss Patti. We're very close to Valentine's Day here, and a lot of people are celebrating. You're celebrating in your own way with your own very interesting traditions. you just told us about it. What are you doing for Valentine's this year?
Well, I start preparing by going to this store in Boulder that's got an entire room that children should not walk into. It's all naughty cards. And when I go there to have a really good time. And if I laugh out loud, even when I'm trying not to, I buy it because I've got a contest with my friend of 60 plus years. We have card wars. And, now a card is what, $5.50, $6, and plus a stamp. So it's got to be really worth it. And if I see somebody snort over a card, I'm on it. Like, what made you snort? Because I think humor is as important as ESS60. Like for me, it's about be happy, be well, be mindful. And if my mind is cluttered and angry, I'm not going to be so good. So I have cards that I buy other people, but I keep them around the house. And when friends come over, I go, oh, you got to see these. And they go through the stack. And then we're just hysterical laughing because such, the memes is what's getting us by now in politics. But for instance, I haven't talked to this guy in 15 years, used to be a boyfriend, but I see this card. I'm like, oh God, I'm just going to send this to him. He owns a recording studio and just say from the harpist you used to know, this reminds me of you.
Can you read it to us? Hey, I'm Michael. What does it say?
The words are scary. Hi, I'm Michael. Would you like the soulful notes of my saxophone to transform your special day into pure passion?
That hair. Oh my God.
It's about the hair. And
that hair is, oh my God. That's like, what is that? 1988?
I don't want to date myself, but I don't want to date a horse either. So, I'm very conscious of the planet. So one of my remedies is to save a horse and ride a cowboy. Okay, that's another one I thought was pretty funny and worthy. And because we're all moving into an empowering time, I have to say that I choose to have a pet alligator because ponies are for sissies.
So. I like that one. That's some good innocent humor. And by the way, the kids these days, when they see a postcard, they'd be like, "Oh, that's like a meme, but on paper."
Yeah,
and it doesn't move, and I can't swipe.
It makes us smile.
Postcards are like, but I'll tell you what, I have never ever not enjoyed receiving a postcard. It's always such a wonderful thing to receive, and just think of, hey, someone's on vacation somewhere, and they're thinking of me. How nice is that? So And I think your friend's probably every time she opens her mailbox and gets a card from you, she's excited. And like you say, humor is so important. And we talk about sometimes some heavy truths on this channel because I think we need to, and the awareness of it, but never without voicing solutions or sort of the positive. And you guys have really been like just holding the line on this and just going to other shows talking about this molecule that sort of like I said, the longer that you study it, the more astonishing it becomes. We've been taking it for a few years. I always talk about my own experiences. I never do a workout without a triple load of Evo, and it has brought a lot of benefits to our family and our health. um, Chris, you've been with this molecule since the beginning, and you are, I think, every time that we talk, I get more and more clarity. How's it for you? Do you still discover sort of new things? Do you still discover new ways of looking at it?
Well, I mean, in it, entrepreneurship, I think in general is a journey of self-discovery. So I get to also kind of learn and understand about myself as it comes to the market, to the molecule. How do we get this into more? I mean, we have such amazing testimonials. How do we get this into more people's hands so that they can have those same experiences? And we land in different places. And a thing that I'm excited about is pushing forward a clinical study and trial on migraines, a clinical trial on HSCRP, which is an inflammatory marker, a clinical trial, a better one, because we did an ad hoc study on sleep, right, where 100% of the participants reported improvements in sleep when they were on the product. So we're going to do kind of a more formalized version of that, and then finally wrapping up with wrinkle and age spot clinical trial, and so we're excited. Yeah, my discovery is I get to do more experimentation.
uh, Chris, I know one of the things that's challenging for you guys is you can have 1,000 testimonials describing the same thing over and over again, but unless you do a clinical study and unless it is peer reviewed and even FDA approved, you cannot share it.
Yeah,
Now, on the one hand, it is good to have a rigid process so that people just don't make any kind of claims. I'm not against that, but there is a certain frustration because you're not free to share what you already know about it. And
yeah.
so a lot of people oftentimes think, oh, this might not be for me, or this can't do anything for me. Is there a more general way of describing how this molecule sort of might benefit a large number of people with?
Well, actually, I mean, this is probably the perfect time, because not the first slide, but the second slide that I'm going to talk about today. So it's right behind it. So here's the molecule that we're talking about, right? ESS60 looks like a soccer ball. It was discovered in 1985 by these three scientists, actually. That's Dr. Smalley, Dr. Curl, and Dr. Croto. They discovered it here in Houston at Rice University. That's where our lab is based. They discovered it in 85 and won the Nobel Prize in 96. And I'm super proud to share that we've been manufacturing the molecule for 5 years prior to them winning the Nobel Prize, right? So it's not unreasonable to suggest that the fact we were delivering this molecule to research scientists around the world was part of the reason they understood the value of the molecule and part of the reason that they ultimately won the Nobel Prize. I mean, that's a reasonable suggestion. I'm gonna get in here and talk about what do we think this is doing, because I want to go over the original study, because when they first discovered it, it was for industrial applications. The way I describe it, it performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application. So better inks, better tires, better batteries, better photocells. And at one point, there's a study that transitions this thing into a health and wellness product. And so I'm going to talk about that. But first, let's just talk about, and I think this goes to answer your question, like, what could this do in your body? This is the BOSS theory, right? Stands for buffering oxidative stress system. And the way this pans out, we know from peer-reviewed published research that this ESS60 molecule gets into the mitochondria. And we also know from way back in the 90s when it was discovered that it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles on the exterior of this cage. So this is how that maps out. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell, and there's between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in our body, except for our blood cells, which have 0, and our brain and neurons, which have 2 million. like every power source, there's a negative byproduct. In the case of the mitochondria, it's reactive oxygen species. So we have kind of in this image, bonded and unbonded. The way I like to picture these reactive oxygen species, if they're left to their own devices, they're like little bumper cars, and everything they smack into, they cause rust, oxidative stress, oxidative damage. Internal to the mitochondria, you have glutathione and melatonin to help manage those reactive oxygen species. And I always like to pause here. Melatonin, we're all familiar with it. It's the sleep hormone. And our most consistent testimonials, people take the product in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. So there's nice parallels with melatonin. So here we see a healthy mitochondria. It's producing the energy that that cell needs, and it's also producing the reactive oxygen species, but not too many, so that they can be managed by the glutathione and melatonin. So they're kind of represented in this blue as blue dots in this first kind of healthy mitochondria. But what happens when you stress a mitochondria? And that kind of begs the question, how do you stress a mitochondria? I like to point out, if you live in modern society, you have stressed mitochondria. It's smoking, drinking, it's EMF radiation. So we've got our cell phones, it's extra radiation off your computer, maybe taking an airplane flight, you get additional EMF, stressful emails, stressful conversations, stress your mitochondria. And that's when they start producing more reactive oxygen species than can be managed by the resident glutathione and melatonin. And normally, those again would go like little bumper cars, causing all sorts of rust, oxidative stress, oxidative damage. But that's when the ESS60 molecule shines, right? We know from peer-reviewed published research it's in the mitochondria, and we know it can hold up to 6 of these negatively charged particles. So it's holding on to them so they can't run around like little bumper cars. And then when that particular mitochondria can replenish the glutathione and replenish the melatonin, then they come in and bond to those reactive oxygen species and manage them appropriately, having never experienced the bumper car damage that would have normally occurred. So when you think about how this is going to work for, potentially for everybody, if you're reducing the negative impact of stressed mitochondria, you should have what we have, which are systemic benefits. You should have head to toe testimonials, which we do. And just like you pointed out, if I come on and say, oh, this pain went away for this client, or this thing went away for this client, the FDA equates that to making a claim that we do that. And now's the perfect time to share. The FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease.
Yeah, so this is something that we do have to say. From my personal experience, I've shared many things. One that is most eye-opening because it's so immediate, and I've shared this many times, is when I do a heavy workout and I take a double or triple doses, 2-3 teaspoons, then I do not get sore muscles. And that means a lot. If you do a heavy workout, how intense those sore muscles can feel and the pain of it, which is nothing like I've ever experienced before. There was nothing that would consistently give me that. Like, better sleep would help me. A lot of hydration would help me. Maybe even electric muscle stimulation that we used with certain devices. But nothing comes even close to what happens when I take double or triple EVO. It's so easy, right? So this sort of, for me, it gives me an experience to what you just shared on a screen with the boss theory, right? It gives me an immediate experience of that. Now, you, on the other hand, Miss Patti, you're less bound by these rules because you float in the same arena that we do. It's more on the spiritual side of things, and we talk about experiences. We talk about what other people said. You had one with, I believe, a caretaker of your mother's, and your mother is also very, very in great shape. You've shared that before, but a caretaker coincidentally was taking the Evo at the same time, had coincidentally a very profound experience. Can you share that story again? Because I think it's incredibly inspiring.
As she's going in to share the story, I just want to share, this is the reason, this is the reason we're sharing this. It's the reason we're doing this migraine study.
And
right?
because you had the experience too, right?
Yes, also.
And his
Yeah.
wife, and most
And
of
your
the
yeah.
influencers that we work with. I've never had one. So the big M is what we will refer to it as. I had no idea that my mother's helper was dealing with this for years. So badly that she had a shot in her arm or hip every 3 months to help with these terrible big M's, headaches. And so she served my mom the Evo every day, and she'd see I'd send my mom a bottle. My mom's about to turn 97 in May,
That's
and
incredible.
I got a photo of her last week. She and the helper were out at a restaurant, which to me is huge, and mom was rolling her eyes over a cheeseburger. Just and they sent me the photo gloating, and I was like, she's out? Like, and rolling her eyes over it. Anyway, it was great. Mom is still enjoying life at 97, but most of her friends are fading away. Um, I wish I had brought a tray, for the senior place where they all have their beautiful places. But my mom is the one that benefits. But I did start giving it to her helper, and she hasn't had one of those big M's since, and it's been almost a year. Every time we talk, she says, "I can't thank you enough." And I said, "We're even," because she won't leave my mom. And my mom at 97, I don't want to go out there because I was always the black sheep. Chris, I know, couldn't imagine that. But I always speak what's on my mind. And, so
No, I can't imagine that.
I'm glad she has Tess, but Tess is absolutely in love with the products. And for me, it's the only thing I can really brag about anymore, other than, of course, my kids and grandkids are great. But this product is so easy. And when I want to get points with people, I just give them a little bottle, like, "You're going to love me tomorrow. Just trust me. Just take
Yeah,
it."
but I can't just kind of rush through this. Just I want to say something. As a child, I had these M's. I had these episodes like, and they were. I remember even as a child feeling like I just wanted to die. That's how bad they were. Like there
Wow.
is nothing that would help. I would throw up like every half hour. Nothing helped. So when you tell me that someone experiences this and then goes to not experiencing this, no surgeries, none of the stuff that in mainstream medicine, like we say, we're saying it's a coincidence, but holy moly, I mean, what a blessing for you, Chris, for Tess, your mom's helper. I know personally what that means. It's like this is the difference between living and suffering tremendously.
Yeah.
So
But not one in a year, when she had
that
like almost every day of the week. And sometimes she was debilitated. Now, how she dealt with my mom debilitated, I can't imagine. But my mom, I have to brag, also has absolutely gorgeous butter skin at 97. Nobody believes she didn't have facelifts, but she didn't have facelifts. And she got on this. And now when it runs low, I get a photo like this, which is, "Send me more." Yeah, I get the sideways bottles. "Okay, mom." So anyway, my mom's skin is absolutely gorgeous, and this is all natural. And when people say, "What do I start with?" These are the two that me and my mom take every day. Oh, wait a minute, all you guys do too, because facial serum is no longer for one sex or the other. I think we sell as much to men as we do to
Oh
women
yeah,
in both
I
these
use this.
products.
I use this twice a day in the morning and the evening. I use it twice a day. I'm not, and I'm not complaining one bit. Christine's not complaining because it smells really good. It smells really, really good. I love it.
I wish
So
we could take credit for your pretty face, but yeah.
Mm.
Now we
the
take credit.
main the maintenance of it, the maintenance
It
of it.
is.
There you go.
It's maintenance, but it's also preventative. When you were talking about double, triple dosing before a hard workout or a marathon or a hike with friends where you don't want to look like a loser, do double, triple, and you're going to have a secret advantage, which is longer enduring energy, flexibility. What this does to my joints and muscles and bones, I just lived through 2 hip replacements. I'm about to have my second hip anniversary of 2 years on March 1st. Yeah, I'll probably, have a cake and a candle. Happy hip day. Okay. So anyway, um, I got through my hip surgeries like butter, which didn't make sense at all to me, even. Like, I called the surgeon both times, the nurse, like, "I'm 4 days after surgery, and I know you told me the pain meds wear off after a few hours, but I didn't do any more pain meds because I don't need it. I take this product. Am I going to get any pain?" And she's like, "Wow, the first time you called for surgery, that was, once in a while we hear that, but 2 out of 2, You're unusual. So pretty much whatever this is that won the Nobel Prize in 1996, and here we are a lot later, Chris and Robert have been like the mad scientist figuring out all these things to do with it, and it was industrial for tires and batteries, and all of a sudden, no, not people and pets, but he's about to show you this presentation of, wait a minute, you mean it's not toxic, let alone holds the longest longevity results in history. Like, we blew the doors off science when we delivered the clean version of this product. So there's industrial, and then there's ESS60 for people and pets because of this test, peer reviewed, that absolutely proved it's not toxic in its cleanest form. So take it away, Chris. So good.
Yeah, Chris, and by the way, just as much as you, Chris, I can't wait for the migraine study, because just to have those insights and to have that sort of scientific evidence, so that we can talk about it more open afterwards, which is
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, run us through this beautiful presentation that gives us the visuals of what this molecule does.
Yeah, so what we're looking here is, and remember, originally this was a toxicity study for various reasons. The shape, occurs 20 times on the exterior of this cage. It's reminiscent of benzene, and they thought for that reason that this would be toxic. So they put it in this toxicity study. Here's at one point, my director of research came to me and said, this study could have been 5 separate research papers. Here's 3 of the key results. So the first one we've already talked about, a 90% extension of life in Wistar rats. We'll talk about that. No tumors in those Wistar rats, which is really profound given the nature of tumors in Wistar rats. And then finally, there was one extra piece. It's a toxicity study related to carbon tetrachloride. So we'll talk about that as well. The first and kind of most profound result, which really kind of skyrocketed this into the health and wellness space, is this 90% extension of life. So one group of rats was a control group given water. Another one was olive oil. That's a semi-control group. And then the ESS60 with olive oil rats. Again, remember, all of these were supposed to be toxicity. It turns out that the olive rats lived about 18% longer than the control rats. So whatever olive oil you're consuming, you should probably consume more. Like, it's really, really good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then going out into the ESS60 group, out to 62 months. So that's a pretty phenomenal result.
And
it is the thing. Yeah.
No, we have to say that the study was ended. So it isn't, the rats didn't die, but the study was just ended. It probably could have gone longer. Like, we don't know that, right?
Yeah. So they did get down to the last 2 rats. One of them passed.
Okay.
And then they euthanized the last one. Now, and that kind of brings up a really cool point. If there's anything true about a toxicity study, when all of the ESS60, the toxic rats, are still alive, and none of the control groups, the water rats, are alive, this molecule is not toxic. Like, there are 0 doubts at that point. But even though their experiment was effectively done, their toxicity study was done, they continued to do the animal husbandry to get these rats out to 62 months. And, kudos to them, because otherwise we wouldn't have this fantastic result and, wouldn't have catapulted this ESS60 molecule into the health and wellness space. So yeah, great point.
Yeah, that's incredible for me still to this day. And also the next point is, they didn't just live much longer, but they also didn't have.
We'll skip to that one right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is another profound piece. So a typical Wistar rat lives about 32 months and has a known amount of tumor mass in its body. The longer this is very straightforward. The longer it lives, the more tumor mass it has in its body. Even though the ESS60 rats lived out to 62 months, none of them had any tumor. So if you kind of project this in a straight line, not just curve, but in a straight line, they should have had this much tumor mass, but they didn't have any, right? Which is a fantastic result. Now I tell this story and people are like, oh, cure for cancer. And I'm like, no. And then I follow that with another? No. There's a big difference between dealing with a cancer that has metastasized and being what is a cancer preventative. And we know simple things like good exercise, good nutrition, good sleep are cancer preventatives. This piece of this story throws the ESS60 molecule kind of into that camp of potentially being a cancer preventative.
Incredible.
I do like to add, because this is, I think, really profound. There's one study, it's a Petri dish study. So this is kind of the lowest level of study, still very relevant. In the Petri dish, they had healthy cells and cancerous cells, and they introduced an anti-cancer agent. And we all know, an anti-cancer agent is really a poison. You're hoping to poison the cancer cells before the healthy cells. In the presence of the ESS60 molecule, there was increased efficacy against the cancer cells and protective effect for the healthy cells. Basically, more cancer cells died in the presence of ESS60 and less healthy cells died in the presence of ESS60. And you might ask, well, why might that be true? We know very well that cancer uses a different energy source. Their mitochondria function differently. So if we go back to our kind of mitochondria here, this is working fundamentally different in cancer cells versus healthy cells. We don't know the exact mechanism, but it's operating in a realm where it does make sense.
I have a physical manifestation story that when I saw this slide,
You want me to put it back on? Here you go.
it just said, oh my God, that's what I just lived through. So for some reason, Chris gets to be the scientist and I get to be the experiencer, because two stories here. One is that when Chris met me, I had just survived the second attempt on my life, which was uranium put in my garage by a really sickening person. And he got away with it because in Boulder, Colorado, they encourage that kind of activity, apparently. Yeah, I was filmed in the emergency room, IV in my arm, by the officials, and they never arrested the guy because maybe they're friends, maybe it's allowed, who knows. But I survived only because of this. I'm sure of it. Because we're talking about the 18 months after I was poisoned and I moved out of the house and I finally was really heavily detoxing. What I was doing is natural oils on the bottom of my feet with a sock and lots of the EVO olive oil. And I was sweating bullets. I lost so much weight, but the toxins were pouring out of me. And then I started having cancer skin tumors come to the surface. First time in my life, ever had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, friggin' 6 of them in a short period of time. And the uranium was what probably put all that trash in me. But they were all on my left side. And I realized that this house I was living in, my left downstairs was the garage where I found his uranium. And he used to work in a radioactive lab, so I knew it was him. And anyway, then I realized I'm down 25 pounds. I'm fainting for the first time in my life, got out of the house, survived, but started getting skin cancer. Now I'm watching Chris talk about this, and every single one of them, they just cut it out and threw it away for me. And I'd say, wow, thank you for taking that and getting rid of it. And they were like, well, that's a weird thing for a patient to say. And I said, no, I'm really grateful because I pushed it out of my system. It came out my skin and then you took it away from me. That's so cool. And they're like, okay, and then I'm back for number 4. And they're like, you do not still have a good attitude. They didn't really say that, but I was just like, okay, so punchline, the 2 of them out of 6 were not so good. They had to come back and go deeper. And don't worry, the inside stitches will melt and they'll dissipate. And then the outside stitches we will remove in 2 weeks. You come back. So I came back and I'm like, this nub here. And they said, wow, you've got a spitting suture ready to come through your skin. And I was like, what? Both of them, back of my calf, left side, and back of this arm, left side. They would not melt, the spitting suture full of whatever kind of crap was in it, because my body was so infused with this miracle molecule that I think it actually pushed all of the cancer. And I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I'm just somebody who experienced 6 of those coming out my skin and me feeling gratitude that I could go somewhere and they could take it and remove it. I think I'm like, it took everything out that was filthy. And thanks, Creep, for, the uranium to push it through me. But it was the C60 EVO that really brought it to the surface and melted the spitting sutures. To me, that's over the top. But the funniest thing is that one rat was put to sleep. I actually think it escaped. And I think that I am paying the darn karma for the 2012 Paris Bhakti study, because last month I had to surrender my beautiful hot tub that I was in morning and night because a rat moved in. And he did so much damage in the bottom of my tub that it was black mold and fungus fingers sticking up when these three guys lifted it and opened it. And instead of fixing the leaks, they said $700 to haul it out of here because of a rat. So you're welcome, world. I took the rat's karma and I have paid. No, I'm kidding. But I'm sitting here thinking of all these funny things about being a hippie chick that owns half this or part of this company. And I'm like, this is all like so my life, even the
It's
rat. And Chris,
it's like it's kind of like you volunteered with all these episodes and severe health episodes just to prove a point. Well, you succeeded in that. I shall tell you, you were released from that obligation now. You can just enjoy your life with all those without
oh,
all
I
those
go out
challenges.
and talk to the rocks. I'm like, okay, you're welcome. I'm done. I quit. I moved away from the UFO field. I've evolved to a remedy that actually is saving. I can't say saving people's lives. I didn't say that. Helping people a lot. It's so funny to minimize the benefits. We were on a show this week with a guy that was screaming, an influencer, because he just changed his life after 30 years dealing with something where he had to prick his finger and eat really carefully. And he said he's screaming before the show, and I said, please take it on air, because he just wanted Chris and I to know. And we're like, oh my god, that too. Yeah, he said, my doctor had no idea what hit me. I've lost 66 pounds. I no longer have this. I took the thing off my arm. I don't do these pills, those pills, don't need to test. He was just like going on and on with. And Chris and I are sitting there like, this is so good. It's going to be really great when freedom really comes to the world, so that we don't have to be a secret breakthrough remedy. We're kind of like the CBD of 20 years ago. The ESS60 is still surprisingly unknown. But
It is. I keep saying that. It's like this is just the beginning of and that's why I think I'm so adamant about, let's get as much data understanding that we can have. So because experience is one thing and testimonials is one thing, and then the other is you got to back it up. And that's just the right thing to do. So that's why I appreciate, Chris, your sort of you're always the one that puts the foot a little bit off the gas and goes, okay, this is what we can prove, this is what we believe, and this is
Yeah.
a theory. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. What else do we need to know, Chris?
Well, if we can think about this study, right? If we go back to that one piece we haven't talked about yet, which was the carbon tetrachloride, I think this is really fascinating for a couple of reasons. But basically, carbon tetrachloride is an oxidative agent that attacks the liver. And they injected the same kind of different groups of rats, right? Because these aren't the ones that lived 90% longer, but the same water, olive oil, and olive oil with ESS60, injected them with carbon tetrachloride, and then 24 hours later euthanized them and inspected their livers. These are representations of the slides in the original study, but they're pretty good representations. And no surprise, the control rats, the ones given water, there was almost no repair based off of this kind of carbon tetrachloride oxidative stress on the liver, inflammation, necrosis, not in good shape. And then the rats given the olive oil were a little better, right? But not much. And the rats given the ESS60 and olive oil almost had complete recovery in the liver. Now, as an antioxidant in the liver, this is, pings this as, hey, we've got to do a lot more research, and this is highly likely to be true. And it certainly maps what we understand about the molecule and its ability to hold up to 6 negatively charged particles. And I like to share, this is in the liver, right? So we have had testimonies. We have to be careful of people who might be imbibing and who have taken extra C60 EVO and, similar to your workouts, have not felt the effects. We're not encouraging anybody to over imbibe, but it seems to be some sort of prophylactic because it's working at the level of the liver.
That's incredible. Chris, do you think that the reason why this is not talked about more is because you've shared once this is not patented? So
Yeah.
because when you see things like that and you see the studies, you would think that a lot of people would start researching way more money would go into it. But you said it's not patented, so it's not like one corporation can sort of monopolize the field.
To really push this out in a major way, fast, right? We're working as hard as we can. You probably need a 25 to $50 million budget, and that's probably just half a year, right? We're not even close. Like, we're not even really close to that. That usually takes, a big pharma size company, and they actually want to have patent potential, right? Patent protection over something, and it's just not there. So the company with that deep marketing pocket is not going to come in and start promoting this molecule because they can't protect it.
So you guys are doing it, which we appreciate. We're doing it. We're helping get the word out, which I think is important. Where, how can people try it? I know you guys are making it accessible. You're offering discounts and whatnot, and we have talked about the incredible cost that goes into research and production. So all the more thank you for that, that you're making it as accessible as possible. How can people give this a try that have never tried this?
They can go to your landing page, which is our name, your name, C60 EVO, like evolution.com/inspired channel. And this is what will pop up right on top. It's the answer to everybody's question. Where do you recommend I start with? What is, the beginning product? And it's obviously our C60 EVO olive oil. It's got a very strong taste because it's real olive oil that we import from Tunisia, from a specific farm. We don't buy cheap, questionable olive oil. It's cold pressed, organic, extra virgin olive oil. Really delicious and potent. You taste that peppery flavor without a doubt. And you take it on a spoon before noon. Absolutely easy. People are like, how much? You take a teaspoon if you want to do a small amount, or a tablespoon if you have a lot of detoxing to do or big energy things that you need to stay awake late, to go on a long walk with people. It's preventative. It's a wonderful thing. If you've got something coming up midday, just take another spoonful, but don't take it too late or you're going to be up going, why can't I sleep? Now, again, Chris can do it at night, drink a cup of coffee. I personally just recommend before noon to maximize the benefits, which just go all day if you take it early. And that is mental focus and extra energy, flexibility. I get up and go from right when I take it. We have a friend, Next News Network, who says, I get out of bed, it's on my side table, and I actually, first thing in the morning, swish it through my teeth and swallow. You do that first thing?
I pretty, we have this little, like a little kitchen where a coffee machine is, but I drink it out of the bottle. I do every morning.
First thing,
First thing
before food or coffee?
before food or coffee.
Awesome. Well, I did it the very next day, and I love it when I remember to swish in my teeth because it's really surprisingly good for your gums. And Dr. Gundry says it's good for teeth whitening. So we'll see. Hard to say, but it can't hurt to do it because we know the molecule just does nothing but benefits you. So, additionally, people are like, my hair is growing, my nails are growing, my skin is soft. We did a skin formula that is all natural, really beautiful. My mom at 97, her skin is as nice as mine, and mine's pretty good considering I'm 72. So the formula is all natural. It's got a base of chia seed oil and the essence of rosemary, which we chose because of aromatherapy. It's a beautiful essence to go to sleep. It's also an energizing essence for waking up and giving you like a blast of fresh rosemary. It's really lovely. And the olive oil, you're going to notice it and you're going to look and feel better. And this is our starter set, the olive oil and face serum. Easy, we recommend it. And it's just a nice place to start. Once you know the products work, you love the molecule. We have a store full of all kinds of great things, from lip balms to hair and face and, yeah, body creams. It's beautiful. So our number one item, we're offering singles or triples, which we talked about. The benefit of 3 months is you're going to feel the first month more energy, flexibility, the second month the clarity, better sleep, and by the third month all your systems are upgraded to the point where you're feeling really nicely detoxed. So a 3 month period is a really good range to perhaps purchase, and you get a nice deal on 3 bottles or 2 bottles, but the best deal is on 6, where you'll get a nice discount here. And that way you can have the 3 for you and 3 for your favorite people, or stick them in the cabinet and don't worry about FedEx or UPS going down this year. You'll be stocked up. So whatever your excuse is, it's great. But you can also sign up for a monthly subscription to save another little bit. And Jean Nolan has a discount code that'll save you $15 at checkout. So there's all these different layers of discounts that you can find and benefit yourself. So here is our starter set, which I told you about before, the olive oil and the face serum, all natural, really lovely. And again, you can pronounce the ingredients in these products, but the ESS60 is 2 ingredients that you're putting in your body. And the more research you do, be sure you're looking at ESS60, not industrial grade C60, which we won't sell for people and pets. Big difference. ESS60 is what you want to look for. So the starter set, you can get 3 sets and go the full 3 months, really nice, or the 6, and you can have 6 months or 3 gifts for somebody else. And again, whatever you do, you should consider saving more money by signing up for a monthly subscription. You'll save more. And our customer service are the nicest people, over 500 5-star reviews. They're really nice. You just call them or write them and say, I cancel my subscription, or I live in Australia, the shipping, blah, blah. Send me the big bottle, 3 times a year instead of, monthly, so that you save. So we are flexible with the way we set you guys up. And the guys at the lab found that they were using our face serum. It's not just for ladies. You guys both use it. So the guys at the lab started playing around with this other amazing peptide, another remedy, and they found that it has 30 years of amazing research on hair, nails, face, skin, everything beneficial. So they put together this beautiful product. It's 2 parts so that we could avoid emulsifiers and dirty chemicals. And so you get to activate it fresh in the palm of your hand, because one is lotion, one is oil. And rather than put them together with chemicals, we're letting you guys enjoy the benefits of clean facial serum. And you just dip it in the palm of your hand. 1 pump of the tall bottle, you'll see the instructions that come with it. But then 2 little drops of the oil, rub it together, put it on your face, and hopefully you will impress yourself when you look in the mirror.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving it. And Chris, there's so much more to say about the science side of things, and we're going to talk about it more when we have you guys back on, because I want to honor your time as well, time of our audience. But in closing, what is, usually this is Miss Patty's part, but today I want to mix it up a little bit. What is your message to people who are out there, who are skeptical, who maybe have a problem, are in pain, or experiencing something? As someone who's not only been with this molecule since the beginning, but you've had personal breakthrough experiences and life-changing experiences, what is your message?
Well, I can start when we were bringing this to market for the first time, right, into the health and wellness space. I had all the doubts, right, because here's this new molecule, here it's going out, and we're getting these amazing testimonials. And the way I approached it, it was like, well, John, I believe what you're telling me, right? One human to another. As a scientist, I don't know what to do with that information, right? Like I don't know how to process it. We're not in a place to run any studies. And eventually, just after time and enough testimonials, I know what to do with it, right? We are doing a migraine study, an inflammation study in the form of an HSCRP study, a sleep study, and a wrinkle and age spot study. Like that's where my doubts have gone. Like, I understand the audience. Dig into the research and give it a try, and then know that we're actually going to be coming out with the clinical trial data that is necessary for us to come on and start making some strong claims.
Chris, I love that. Thank you so much, Chris Burres, Miss Patti Greer. Always such a pleasure to have you on. And I think we're in the pioneering days of this, talking about it, you guys bringing it out. In a few years, it's going to look vastly different, and the world's probably going to know about this, and it's going to have the place that it deserves, I believe, in my opinion. So thank you both for the pioneer work, and I look forward to our next show together. This is really important work.
Thank you. And
And
thank your
Inspire-
audience.
Yes, I was just going to say, Inspire Tribe, thank you for tuning in. Please hop over to c60evo.com/inspired channel. Look around, lead with your intuition. You know what to do, and hopefully you'll give it a try and see what it's all about. Thank you again for tuning in, for being with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon.